So I'm here with John, the guitarist of Wake. Now, you used to play bass in Wake also, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And so, what was it like the transition from going from playing like, your basic root notes to like playing badass lead guitar with the steel and everything?
It was, for Wake specifically, some of those riffs are pretty tricky, and so with bass, sometimes it was more about sliding and moving in. It was kind of like a slow motion slide into third base sort of thing, sometimes if I needed to. But with guitar, it's very specific. It's very, note to note. So I had to kind of make sure that I was just more rehearsed and more just focused, Instead of throwing down on stage, it was more about making sure that performance was tight. So going from bass, where you can just kind of sling it around and get noisy and nasty, it was more about like, nuanced notes. So just having to focus a bit more, and that music's in my blood though, so I knew it regardless of anything else. That music was there inside of me, so I just had to pretty much shift from just doing root note thickness to being like, okay, I have to be a bit more nuanced here.
And so, do you or is it fun, I guess, doing like the little pedal steel parts and stuff, like? Because I think that adds a really cool feel to the sound.
Yeah, I love it. Being from McMinnville, Tennessee, and just being surrounded by country music and everything, I've always loved the sound of the pedal steel and the lap steel. And when I first started playing it, it was basically for a rock band. It wasn't for anything that was more soft. It was more for just like how a blues artist would use a slide on a distorted guitar. That's how I initially started it. But when I realized that I could create so much more with less if I just dialed it in right, that's when I found out like I could really make something something sound a bit more spooky and special, and just I just felt like that lap steel could do much more in this music than I could do if I was in a country band,
Right.
Because I don't really play it like a country musician would play a lap steel. I play it in a way that it's more about adding padding and voices, like long, ghostly voices to stuff.
So, you said you're from Tennessee, but you live in Florida now, right?
Yeah. I live in Miami now, yeah.
So what were the logistics of getting to be able to get together with the guys and like prepare for this show?
It was a lot. Whenever I was in Tennessee, I could just drive down. It was a 5-hour drive. And so being in Miami, there are no straight flights to Little Rock, and there's no cheap flights to Little Rock. Miami, I use Southwest because it's typically cheaper. There's one flight a day. Leaves at 4:05, lands at 10:45 every day. That's the only flight out of Miami to Little Rock. So having to make sure that I got my time off at work, my daughter's taken care of, and all this stuff it was a lot, man. It was a lot. So pretty much we've had about 2 or 3 rehearsals for this show, and they were all spaced out within a month of each other. So wasn't it wasn't as easy as just driving down, but I woodshed at home. Our bassist, he lives in Cincinnati, and he's on the road a lot. He's a guitar tech for some bands. So both of us pretty much were just woodshedding at home, and then we came in this week and just put it together.
That's so cool. Now you're also in like other bands. You said the Proto Man?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And so what kind of music is that?
That's like apocalyptic synth 80s rock metal with a lot of like bombast, a lot of just like very theatrical. Our sets are usually an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it's a whole routine, man. A lot of like just there's a story arc to the band's music, and so we're kind of reacting and living that story arc on stage and presenting that to the audience as like a part of this, like these 3 albums that the band is putting out. Is just pretty much like an entire story from top to bottom. So the crowds come up and they watch it and they listen to the lyrics and read and listen to lyrics and sing along and all this. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
And so you're also involved with one of the guys from Neurosis, right?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
And so, what's that project?
Scott Kelly and I did a couple of tours a few years ago and put out a 7-inch together, and it was really just Scott does his own solo thing, and it's amazing stuff, and I pretty much give padding and backing with some acoustic guitar, some electric guitar, and some lap steel, and sometimes vocal harmonies. And yeah, it's a real special thing. It's one of those truly meditative experiences on stage, because I get to go inside. It's less like a rock show where you're just blasting outward. It's more like there's a lot of space, and sometimes it's more about what you don't play versus what you do play. So it adds a lot of nuance to it, and contemplative melodies and moments. So yeah, it feels really special. And I enjoy it anytime I get to do that with him. It's really special.
Well, John, thank you so much for talking to me. You're such a talented musician, such a nice guy. I really appreciate it, bud.
You're such a nice guy, man. I appreciate you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Cheers,
And
brother.
yeah, check out the Proto Man and Scott Kelly, and also obviously Wake. And yeah, again, John, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. Cheers.
Now I gotta